with this. I'm sharing my screen, right?
Yes.
You can see my BF component-based design, right?
Yes.
Good. So let's go to lesson plan. As I told you, it's 3 weeks. Actually, it will be 4. In the other 4 weeks, I'm going to give you projects. So let's go to the first week. What do we need to learn, and what different application we need to understand? So let's focus now for the first week here. Click. So to learn React, we need first to understand what is React. Can anyone tell me what is React? What is React?
It's a framework.
Actually, it's library. So library or framework, it doesn't matter a lot. The name here, it doesn't matter. I call it framework. All people call it framework because it works like a framework. So library, normally it's small piece of code. For example, some library we are using like Prettier just format your code and stuff like that. But normally the framework, it's more structures, help you to build user interfaces. So I can compare React with Angular or Vue. Both of them are frameworks. That's why we call it framework. It is actually library, but we call it framework. It doesn't matter. So it's a JavaScript library. We use it to create user interfaces. What is user interfaces? Simply is website. Whatever you see here, that's what we call user interfaces. So everything we see here is we call it user interfaces. So that's simply React. Now, before you learn React, of course, you need to know very well the basic of JavaScript, because React simply is just JavaScript. I mean, that's just a framework for JavaScript. So the language is JavaScript. It's just like it helps you a little bit more. It make your job or your life a little bit easier. So let's click on the basic here to see what's the basic here. So what is React? I told you React is JavaScript library. Of course, React is not the only library for JavaScript or the only framework for JavaScript. In the front end, we have React. We have Angular, we have Vue. That's the 3 most popular, but there's a lot more actually. React is by far the most popular, as you can see. Around 40.14% of the developer use React. React, by the way, is developed by Facebook. Then after that, it came jQuery. Do you know what jQuery is? Can anyone tell me what's jQuery? What is jQuery?
It is also framework of JavaScript.
It's actually a library, it's not a framework, but jQuery, it make it easy to deal with the DOM. So jQuery, it's simply, okay. So jQuery simply is just a library for JavaScript, but it make dealing with the DOM very easy. So yeah, most of old websites use jQuery, but now because we have React, Angular, Vue, we don't use jQuery a lot. Still some old company, old website using jQuery. Express, can anyone tell me what's Express?
It's library for backend.
It's a framework.
For
But
Node.js.
for what?
Node.js.
Yes, indeed. So for the backend, we will learn that we will use Express. It helps us to build APIs. Angular is just another framework for JavaScript. Now, the difference between React and Angular, there's many differences, but the obvious difference between the two is in Angular here, we use TypeScript. We don't use JavaScript. With React, you can use TypeScript or JavaScript. It's really up to you. But with Angular here, most of the time we use classes. So component, now we'll see what is component. The component here in Angular, they are in class. So if you remember, I taught you what is a class. So when you say class person, it's equals and you have other method inside it. So here Angular use classes. React until 2015, we used to use classes, but now after we create something called React Hook, we can use component of functional component, or some of them still use class component, but functional component by far is more popular because it's easier. Vue, it's just another framework here for JavaScript. So for those guys for the front end here. ASP.NET Core of ASP.NET, that's simply a framework for C#. Flask, it's a framework for Python. ASP.NET. So this ASP.NET, .NET Core here, .NET Core is used with different operating systems. So here we can use ASP.NET Core application with Windows, with Mac, with Linux, but here ASP.NET we only use the application on Windows. Other than that, they are the same. Both of them are C#. Django, it's another framework for Python. Spring or Spring Boot, both of them, they are framework for Java. AngularJS, it's the old version of Angular, but now no one is using it. So the first version is called Angular.js. After that, they changed it totally. Now what we have Angular. So AngularJS is the old framework for Angular. No one is using it anymore. We have Laravel, it's for PHP, Ruby on Rails, it's for Ruby. Gatsby here, it's just a static website generator. Don't worry about that. Fast API, that's for Python. Symfony for PHP. Svelte, by the way, it's another framework also for JavaScript. Durable, that's a framework for PHP, but we don't care about that. What I'm interested here, I'm trying to explain here, is React is very popular actually. So learning React is really a good idea. Is that okay?
Yes, Samir, because sometimes you say that this is a library and sometimes this is a framework. So what's the difference between library and framework?
Library normally it's so what is library and what is framework? Library normally it's small application. For example, now Prettier here it's a library. It's normally it comes with small functionality. It's not that huge in size. Okay, so the library normally it's a little bit smaller in size. The framework it's much more complex. So it's collection of different library. Okay.
So React, it's library, so it's small?
Yes. So React is actually minimal library. Why? Of course, that's not something bad, by the way. That's something good. Why? Now, if you compare React with Angular or Vue, Angular is really heavy framework. So it comes with a lot of setting. React does not come with a lot of setting, but you can install extra library to make it functional exactly like Angular. Now, you may tell me, yeah, but I
When you need it.
Sorry?
When you need it, sorry. I mean, it's better because Angular is huge as a default, but React, if you need something, you can install it.
So Angular is opinionated. Opinionated means that already come with a lot of setting. But indeed, React, you can control your own project. So you can install whatever you want. You have a lot of choice. And you have a lot of library, as I told you, to install with React.js to be functional exactly like Angular or Vue. So that's not a bad thing, actually. That's a really good thing because now you control your project. Whatever library you want to install, you can install them. Okay? Agnieszka?
Yes, okay, thank you.
Other than that, for us, it doesn't matter. So call him library or framework, it doesn't matter. Let's go here. Here, React is a library to create user interfaces. I told you what's user interfaces is whatever you see here is a website here. React use something called single page application. What do I mean by single page applications? That means all the React application, it will be rendered inside one index.html. So inside one index.html. That's here what we call single page application. So we will see now when we create a project that all React component at the end, we will render it inside one index.html. So it's only one page because we have only one index.html, and that's why we name it single page application or SPA. So SPA for single page application. And not just React, Angular, Vue, all of them are SPA. That means all of them are single page application. Do you understand what I mean by single page application or not? Yes, no? So everything, all my React, everything I build in React, at the end, I will link it to one index.html. I will not have multiple index.html. Okay? And that's the reason why we call it single page application. Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. I will show you, of course, now when we build the project, I'll show you now. React allow to create reusable component. Reusable component is just like we study in separation of concerns. So you have component function. So what is component function? It's just a function returning a DOM element, right? That's what we know. Component function is just a function return a DOM element, right?
Yes.
Well, no component here, it will also be a function, but it will return something called JSX. What is GSX? Well, GSX, it look like HTML, but we can insert our JavaScript inside this index or this GSX. We'll see now what is GSX as well. Anyway, so now we'll see also what is a usable component in our first project, which will be a counter. So I'll tell you what do I mean by reusable component. How can I create a React project? So that's quite interesting. In the past, we use create React app. This one here is just it's a library. You can use it to create a React application. So instead of putting all this setting and stuff like that, this library here allow you to create very easily a React project. Of course, that's in the past. This one is a little bit slow. Now in the present, we have something called Vite. So Vite here also is just another package or library. It's allow us to create a React application, not just React, Vue, Angular, even vanilla JavaScript. And now we will see how can we create it here in Vite. So to create any project in Vite, we'll just say npm create Vite at latest. So let's copy this command. Let's go to my VS Code. Now, of course, I am inside a new folder called React. So I'm gonna just paste this one, npm create Vite at latest. If I click on this one here, it will tell me what is your project name. Let's name it, for example, counter React, no React counter, but I already have a lot of React counters. So React counter, and yeah, that should be okay. Click. If I click on it, it will tell me, okay, do you want to use vanilla JavaScript, or you want to use Vue or React or Preact or Light or Svelte or Solid? All of those are just different framework for JavaScript. I want to use React. So I'm going to click on up arrow key to go to React. I will click enter, and then it will tell me, do you want to use TypeScript with React, or do you want to use JavaScript? I'm going to click arrow down, go to JavaScript because I want to create JavaScript. Click. And now it's telling me, okay, your project is completed. As you can see, it tell me cd into React counter, do npm install, and then npm run dev. So let's try to do that. I'm going to open my project now. That's it. So I'm going to go inside my project like that. Voila. So as you can see, just in very, very short time, in second, just create a React project for me. Now, what I need to do here, I need to say just npm I to install all the dependency. And voila. Install everything for me. That's very good. Remember, as your node version must be the stable one, so it must be 20. So no, I'm sorry, node version must be 20. Don't use node version 15, use 20, please. Okay, I created my application, everything is fine. It just in simple commands, that's my React application. I'm gonna install Prettier. Why? Because I want to, you don't have to, but it's just because I don't know. If I look at the component here, that's what you call GSX, that's component, as you can see. So as you can see, the components, there are 2 spaces here, and I don't like 2 spaces, I prefer 4 spaces. So if you are like me, that's what you want to, I'm gonna just create a file called Prettier RC, click, and I've sent some setting here on Slack, so I'm gonna copy them and paste them. Voila. So what was going to do here, it's just gonna make the spaces here 4 spaces instead of 2, because I don't like 2. And I'm going to my package.json. So as you can see, I have a lot of stuff installed. Type, React DOM, ESLint, Vite, React DOM, everything. So I'm going to go to the script, and I'm going to add one script for format because I just installed Prettier. So far it's nothing. It's just what we have been doing here. So format here, I will just say Prettier dash right. And dot slash, and now here, if I click format, it will format my code here. That's what I want to, nothing else. So that's just for some styling here, as I told you. If I go here now, click on this one here, let me, because I don't have Prettier, npm install minus this, so that's dev dependency. And I need to install Prettier. So we'll install it as a dev dependency. So now I can run npm run format. And now it will format my code, as you can see here. So instead of 2 spaces, I will have 4 spaces. As you can see in CSS, I will have 4 spaces here. I have 4 spaces. It's better to see this way, for me at least. Okay, that's fine. We know how to create a React project. It was very simple. Don't use this way. That's the old way. It's not a good way because create React app is very slow. Vite is much faster. So all you have to do just npm create Vite at latest. And as I show you, you just go to rename your applications and you will select React, then you'll select JavaScript, and voila. You will cd into your project, npm install. If you want, you can install Prettier. And if you install Prettier here, you need to add this setting. I've already sent this setting on Slack, so you just copy paste it. And after that, you need to add one script, which is called format Prettier space dash dash right dot slash. So it will format all your file. Is it okay so far now? I didn't do anything. It's just I make a React application and I just add some setting for Prettier. Clear, no? Hello?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yes.
But Samir, you personally prefer Vite, not Next.js. And what's the difference between Next and Vite?
Next.js is a framework for React.
Mhm.
So it's like a framework for framework. Okay? Do not worry about Next for now. Next is just another framework for React. React is a framework or a library, but it's also Next is just another library for React. Don't worry about that. Let's go step by step, Daria, okay? Now we need to understand the basic of React. If we don't understand him, you'll not be able to use Next after that, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Is it clear here? Is it clear so far or not?
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see, that's my React application. Everything is fine, not a problem with that. So, okay, fine. We created our React application. Now, how does React work? So React creates something called virtual DOM in the memory instead of manipulating the browser DOM. React creates virtual DOM in memory where it does all the necessary manipulation before making the change to the browser. Can anyone try to explain what was that supposed to mean? So let me just try to delete this one here. So the question is why React is fast. I'm telling you React is faster than Angular, but why? Why React is faster than Angular? Any idea? So why React is faster than Angular?
Because it's library and library is smaller.
No, not at all. I told you there is no difference here. Yes, we call it library, but actually I call it framework all the time. There is another reason. Yes.
Don't make difference between the DOM and other functions. No.
Okay. Any idea, Diniando? What the hell? Why is not typing? Diniando, do you have any idea?
Because of virtual DOM?
Yes, indeed. Real DOM. But what is virtual DOM? What is virtual DOM?
We render everything in component and in the JSX.
Okay. The reason why React is faster than other frameworks simply because React don't directly manipulate your DOM. So do not change the DOM directly. Why? Because in the memory, in the computer memory, React creates something we call virtual DOM. So virtual DOM is not a real DOM. React, whenever I make some changes, React creates the DOM here, but it created in the memory. Now, when I come and I want to change something, React does not change the real DOM. It just only changes the virtual DOM. That's first. Second, when I change something in React, it does not change everything. No, it's only change what I changed only. So for example, let's say I have an input and inside this input, I add a class. React does not create a new element input and add the class to it. No, it will come, it's already have an input, it will just add the class to it. So React, what it's going to do here, it's makes the change, the small change. It does not change everything. It try as much as possible to make small changes. So as I told you, for example, let's say I have an input, and then after that, in this input, I say I'm gonna give it a class. So I have an input here, then I say I'm gonna give this input a class. React does not create the input again, because some framework recreate everything. All the time I change something, they recreate the whole DOM. React does not do that, no. In the memory, if now I have an input and I want to give it a class, it knows that I already have an input and it will only add the class. And when the change is being done, then it will go and change the real DOM. So it does not directly change the real DOM, no. It's only changed, see what I have changed. There's something called reconciliation in React. I will explain it later on, not now, later on. So what React is doing is all the time try to make smaller change depending what you are changed. So it does not create the whole component, all of it, unless, of course, the parent of the component, you change it. I'm going to explain that again in reconciliation, but React try to change the minimum. So if, for example, I have an element input and then I give it a class, it will not recreate the input again. It will just add the class to it. And after that, it will only change this class in the real DOM. So again, it does not change everything. No, it's only makes the small changes if if I'm making small changes, React here in the virtual DOM, it will make these small changes, then it will update the real DOM. So it does not directly update the real DOM. Other framework like Angular or Vue, they manipulate the real DOM. And when they manipulate the real DOM, they have all the time to recreate everything, and recreating everything take time, as I told you. Is the idea a bit clear or not? Yes, no? If it's not clear, it's okay, because we'll explain it again in reconciliation, week 3, I think. Is the idea clear? Yes, no?
Yes.
So we have virtual DOM and real DOM and React. So as you can see here, that's virtual DOM. So what's happening here? Whenever I change something, let's say that's my element. Of course, my element here, the DOM here is tree of element, as I told you. That's a parent, that's 2 children. That's the child of this child here. And this guy here has 2 children. So whenever I change something in React, it will only update it. So it will make the change minimal. Okay, so it will make minimal changes, as you can see. And first, it will update it, updated in the virtual DOM, then it will go to the real DOM. And that's what makes React really fast, because other framework here does not have virtual DOM. No, they directly manipulate the real DOM, and that's why they spend more time recreating everything. React does not do that. Again, don't worry if you don't understand it 100%, because I'm going to explain it in detail in reconciliation. Okay, let's go to this guy here and try to understand what the hell is going on here. Let's go to my project and let's see what do we have. So now in my project, if I go to source here, as you can see, I have something called main.js, and then I have index.css. I'm gonna rename this one just so we have the same name. I'm gonna rename it to main.css, and I need to update this one as well because I rename it. So import. And index, it's not an index, actually, now it's main. So what is React is doing actually? Why would we call it single page application? How many HTML do I have here in my project? How many HTML do I have in my project?
One.
Only one. That's why we call it single page application, because everything in React actually, it will be inserted inside this root. This div with ID root, all the application, all my component at the end, it will be inserted inside this root. And at the end, I have just a single page here, which is index.html. And that's why I called React or Angular on Vue SPA or single page application. Let's rename the name of our project. I don't like beat here. I will name it counter. Voila. So here, if you want to change the name of your project, you will just type counter. Other than that, you will not touch this file. Unless, of course, for example, you want to add font or some stuff like that, you can change this one. But other than that, we don't have any job here. So you'll never work on this one unless you just want to add some font or some icon, stuff like that. Or you want to change the title. Our job is not here. Let's close it. That's the main here. That's main GSX. That's the main one. But what this main is doing? So it's importing React from React. So what is React? React is just a library here. So we actually React is divided into two libraries. We have React and React DOM. They are separated, both of them. Then I'm importing app. What is app? App is this guy here. That's what we call component or root component. So I am importing React from React. That's in the main file. Import React from React is just the library I'm installing. Import React DOM from React DOM/client. You don't have to worry about that. I'm importing this, that's what we called a component. I'm importing this component, import app from ./app.jsx. So that's my component here. And I'm importing the CSS. Now, when we import the CSS, we need to import it this way, import. Then I need to put a string ./main.css. That's how we import a CSS inside React. Okay, after that, what I am doing, we have a React DOM. React DOM is an object. And in this React DOM, we have a method called create root. So what does this create root is doing? Well, this create root take two parameters. The first parameter here, actually take one parameter, not two parameters. So what do I need to pass this create root here? So create root, I need to pass an element, DOM element. Well, but I don't have any DOM element in my index.html, or do I have? Do I have any DOM element inside my index.html?
No.
Yeah,
Yes, you have root.
indeed. So I have these elements. The only element I have is root. So this create root, I need to pass a DOM element to it. So as the only DOM element I have here, it's root. So I will say document.getElement by ID, and it has an ID called root. And then when I do that, we have another method called render. So what the hell is render doing? What render is doing here, it will take this component. Now we'll see what inside this component. It will take this component and it will put it inside the root. And simply like that. Again, what is in the main we are doing? So in the main, simply we are taking this component here. We call this one the root component. Why? Because all other component, we need to import it inside app.jsx. We will see that. So what we are doing here, well, it's quite simple. We are selecting our root here, and then we are taking our app and we are putting it inside this root. And that's what we are doing in the main. So React is not a magic, actually. It's simply just JavaScript, as you can see. We are just selecting this element root, and then we are putting this component here, which is called app. We are putting it inside this div with ID root. And then after that, we will see the application. Voila.
And the React.strict mode,
So strict mode here is just a mode. If you remember, use strict in JavaScript, right? You remember use strict in JavaScript. Yeah, so use strict. It will show you some hint, even if they are not error, but it will allow you to write better code. Same idea.
Okay.
With
Yeah.
mode, it will help you to write a better code. Okay?
But it's obligatory or
No, it's not obligatory, but it's good to use. For beginners, really good. Okay?
okay.
Fine. So as you can see, that's in the main. That's what I have in the main. I have nothing actually. I'm just using React DOMs as a library. I'm trying to create the root. Now, create a root, it's a method, it's a function. I need to pass DOM element to it, and that's the only DOM element. Voila. And then I have render on this DOM element, and render, I need to pass a component. What is my component? As the only component I have is called app.jsx, and that's here. Voila. Now my component, if you see my component, I'm treating them like HTML element, right? So as you can see, bracket slash bracket. So it's like self-closing HTML element, right? So that's how we deal our component. So our component, we can make opening tag like that and closing tag, or they can be self-closing tag, depend really. So here I can have opening tag for app and closing tag if I want to pass some data inside it. But if I don't want to, I can make it self-closing tag, as you can see. Is the idea clear? Yes, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's try to run our application. To run our application, what was the command?
npm run dev.
Dev, indeed. So I will just say npm run dev, click, and voila. So what is telling me here is telling me go to localhost 5173. If I click on Control on Windows or Command on Mac, and I click on it with my mouse, it will open my application. And voila, that's my application. Click. Voila. So that's my application. If I click on this one, it will calculate the counter for me. It's just like a template here. Now, what I want from you to do, to go to Chrome extension, and there is an extension which is called React Developer Tools. You need to install this application or this extension. It's super important. So React Developer Tools. Go to Chrome and please install this extension. Yeah.
But now we should do it now.
Yeah, if you want, you can do it later. It's fine. That's okay for me. Now I understand the index.html. I understand the main.jsx, but what the hell is this main.css? Well, it's just CSS, normal CSS, but I am importing it here, as you can see. How can I import CSS? Import string./main.css. Okay, so here I don't want really this CSS. I'm gonna get rid of it. It's not my application, it's just a template. So I get rid of this one. And now here, if I go to app.css, I don't want all this CSS as well. I'm going to just delete it. Now let's go to our component, which is app.jsx. I have a lot of stuff here, so let me clean it a little bit. A lot of strange code, right? Let's delete this strange code. Let's delete all of that. Let's delete that. And here, I just need to return something. So let's return a normal div. As you can see, so GSX, that's what we call GSX, stands for JavaScript XML. It's just like I can insert any HTML syntax. So as you can see here, I'm just passing a div with now say hello world, for example, hello from React. So it's normal div, nothing here. Now here it's a function, is declaration. I don't like that. All your component, it's better to use arrow function. So I will make just this one arrow function. And it's okay, you can do that if you want to. Oh, voila. So what is a component in React? It's just, as I told you, it's just a function, as you can see, but it returns something look like HTML. This one is not really HTML. That's what you call GSX, but it's now, it's very similar actually to HTML. So I'm saying const app, and notice here, it's not an option here. You have to name your component starting with uppercase. So as you can see, app.jsx, even the CSS you don't have to, but it's better practice to name it this one, app.jsx. As the name of the function here, it must start with app. You may tell me why. Well, why? Because simply React distinguish between HTML element and the component only by this capital letter. So if this one here is lowercase, React will know that's normal HTML element. But if it's uppercase, React will know that it is a component. Is the idea clear? So that's not an option. And your component, you need to name it, or you need to use a convention which is called Pascal case. We need to start with uppercase. Is it okay?
Yeah. So why main JSX is lowercase?
Well, main here, it's a little bit different. So as you can see, I don't have a component here. Do I have a component?
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
don't have a component. I'm just using some method and I'm putting my app component here. That's the reason here. Okay, now let's go and see what we have. So whenever you make some changes, as you can see, automatically, voila, hello from React. It's quite simple, actually. So I was able to now create a header, and as you can see, if I want to add some CSS, I can. It's very simple, by the way. I can just click on this one, and I am using div, right? So I can just say, for example, I can give it a class if I want to. Let's just select the div, And here I will just say text align center. And now with my text now, if I go, it will be centered. Voila. It's super simple, as you can see. But of course, using just HTML syntax is not nice. I mean, we need to, the idea of the React, we need to build our component. We need to build a reusable component. And that's the idea. We need to now build our own component, our own reusable component. That's fine for now. Let's go. Let's complete. So here I explain what is ever inside the main.jsx. So that's the old syntax, by the way. As you can see, before I told you it take 2 parameters, because actually in React 17 here, as you can see, it took 2 parameters. The first parameter is the second parameter. But the new syntax here, as you can see here, does not take this one. It just take 1 parameter here, it selects the element, and then it use render app. It doesn't matter a lot. It's small difference between different version of React. But what is important for me is what I'm doing here. I'm selecting my root element, the only div I have, and I'm putting this app component. App, we call it root component. Now we will see why. We put our component inside it, and voila. Clicky. That's counter. That's nice now here. Now, if you have this dev tool here and you click on component, notice it will show me my component. So it will tell me you have one component, which is app. I don't have any props. You don't know what's prop. We'll see. Or now what is prop. So, but it will tell me you have one component, which is called app. Indeed, I do. I only have one component, which is called app here, as you can see. I should be fine for now. Doesn't matter for now. Let's complete. What is GSX? Well, I told you GSX stands for JavaScript XML. It looks like an HTML, but it's not really an HTML. Why? Because in HTML, I cannot have my own tag. But as you can see, if I have a look at this example, I can have HTML. And this one is a little bit strange. Why? Because we start with uppercase bottom. So this one, I know it's a component. Again, super important, React distinguish between HTML element and component just by this letter here, which is uppercase. Because other than that, they are the same. Okay, so that's the reason why you need to name your component starting with uppercase. Let's create a button component. Just guys, give me a second. Okay, guys, sorry for that. Are you still with me?
Yes,
Yes.
no problem.
Yes.
So let's create our own component. So how can we create our own component? Well, first, I don't like this asset. I'm going to delete them. I'm going to go to the source here, and here I'm creating a folder. And this folder, I will name it component. Component with S. Voila. And here, let's create a button. So I'm going to create a button component. I told you the component name start with uppercase, right? So I will name it button.gsx. Why GSX? Because GSX, it shows me that it is a component. Also, it will show you a better syntax, so it will help you better. So don't use GS, use GSX. That's nice. That's very nice. So that's my component. I also want to create my CSS. So let me create my CSS. So for each component, I can have separate CSS, which will be better actually. So that's better separation of concern. I will name it again, button, same, .css, which is okay. So that's my component button. and that's the CSS related to it. That's fine. So now what you need to do here, you need to go to VS Code extension. We have a really nice extension, which is called, if you type React like that. So we have this extension, which is called ES7 React Redux React Native Snippet. That's really nice here. Simple React component. Also, that's nice. So this one is help you a lot. Now I'll show you what do I mean by that. I will show you. So this, I will show you this extension later. Don't worry. So what should I do now? I should just create a function. So I can just say, for example, const. I should name it button, and it will be an arrow function, just normal arrow function, huh? Voila. And it should return. I need to return now. What do I need to return? I need to return JSX. Voila, as you can see. So let's now export it. EXP. Voila. So that's my component simply. So that's the name of my component. It's a function. I am returning just an HTML or JSX. That's quite nice. But what if I can do all of this step in just one small step here? If I have this extension. So if I have this extension, which is called ES7 React Redux React Native, I can just delete this one. And if I type RA, so as you can see, it gives me some help, as you can see. So if I type this one, RAFCP, click, voila, it's automatically create everything for me. I don't need props for now. I don't need React. Prop type, I'm not going to use prop type for now. I'm not going to confuse you. Voila. So it creates my component for me. Of course, now I need to connect my CSS here. How can I import my CSS? I need to say import string dot slash bottom.css. And voila. So I just I'm importing all the CSS here inside my component here. Of course, I don't want to return a div. What I want to return a button. Button here. And here in button, I say, for example, click me. Click. Voila. So that's my component. I've imported my CSS here. I can write some CSS if I want to. I can just say button. Just add some property like that. Voila, that's okay. And then now what I need to do here, of course, now if I go to my application here and see, I don't have anything. Why? Why I cannot see this component? Can anyone tell me why I cannot see this component?
You need to add this button to app.js.
Indeed, because what I am doing here, when I told you in main, I am rendering the app component inside my index.html. So if this component is not imported inside app.js, I will not see it. So now I need to go to my JS and I need to import my component. How can I import my component? It's super simple. If you just say import button cap uppercase, just enter, voila. And in React, you don't need the extension. If what you are importing is a component, you don't need the extension. But if it's CSS file or any other file, you need to mention the extension. Because React by default assuming it's a component, so you don't really need the JSX. And now here I will render my button, but how can I render my button? Well, it's quite simple. All I have to do, so let me delete this one, cut this one. I will create an H1, my app, and then I will render my button. So to render my button, I have two possible ways. Either I'm going to render it this way, opening and closing tag, or if I'm not passing anything, I can make it self-closing tag. So I'm going to just come here and just self-closing tag. And voila. And now if I go here, voila, I have my button, as you can see. And of course, here in my React here, React Dev Tool, it shows me that I have now another component. And this component is the child of app, because as you can see, it's inside it here. So I have one component, I have two components, as you can see. And that's simply how we create a component. It's super simple. So to create a component, again, I just need to create a function. And this function here, of course, I need to name it. The name convention must be Pascal case. That means it should start with uppercase. And if it's multiple word, all of them should start with uppercase. And then I can return whatever I want to. Here, I'm just returning a button. And voila, simply like that. Clear? You know now how to create your own component? Yes, no?
Yes.
It should be simple. Of course, this extension, as I told you, it will make your life very easy. So the extension here is just called ES7 React Redux React Native Snippet. I've installed 2 of them, but you can install 1 of them. It will help you. If you just type RAFCE, as I told you, it will automatically create the component for you, which is really handy. That's my bottom, that's nice. Okay. So how we create your own component, it's quite simple. As you can see, this is a component here, just a function, it's returning some DOM element or JSX. So button, I am a button, and then here I need to import it inside my app. Of course, every component should be at the end, either it should be imported inside app or it should import it inside another component, which this component should be imported inside app. Because if it's not imported inside app, I cannot see it here in my application. Why? Because the only component I am rendering in my index.html is app. So that's normal that other component need to be child of this component or child of this component. Otherwise, I cannot see it. Is it okay? Yep.
Yeah, but Samir, main JS6 and app JS6, it's they do the same job.
Sorry.
It's two main file, but why do we need two
You mean,
instead just one?
again, Daria, can you repeat your
So
question?
we have app JS6 and we have main JS6,
Ah,
and they're quite similar for me. Why do we need two instead of just one?
they are not similar. This app app JSX, this is a component. So see, it's a component. This is not a component. This we are just using React DOM to select the root and then put our component inside it. They are not the same.
Okay.
And as you can see, it starts with lowercase. Why? Because it's not a component. It's just we are using some functionality of React DOM. We are selecting our root element and then we are putting this component inside it.
Okay.
They are not the same. No. Okay. So now we know how to create our own component. We have something called props. So what the hell is props? Now, of course, I can now go to my app.jsx and now I can render this component. I told you the component are reusable piece of code, right? So I can reuse them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times. I can use them as much as I want to. And if I go here to my application, as you can see now, I don't know how many buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 buttons, as you can see. So I can reuse them again and again and again. But the problem is, now when I have like 8 buttons, should all the bottom here be with the same text? Or should they have different text? What do you think? Most of the time when we have a button, should they all of them, they should be the same text or they should be different text?
Different text.
Of course, different text. And also maybe different color, right?
Yes.
And their functionality, it will be the same or it will be different. So if I click on all the buttons, they will give me the same functionality or the functionality must be different.
Must be different.
So if I click on this button, let's say, it will do something. If I click on this one, it should do something different, right? Yes, no?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but now I have a problem because yes, I have reusable component, but all of them are the same. They are not useful, right? How can I make it useful? So how
With
can
JavaScript?
Hmm?
With JavaScript?
No, with props.
We called props.
Okay.
With something called props. So what the hell are props? Okay, I will just keep 3 buttons. So just because I don't want to waste a lot of time. Now, what is interesting about the components that I can pass some data to them. How? Well, that's my button, right? I can come here and I can pass anything I want to, text. By the way, this property, you can name it whatever you want to. Here is text, I can make it as a string. And here's a text, I will base, for example, increment. Increment like that. Okay, Now I can use the same property. By the way, you can name it whatever you want to, but all of them, they must be the same. So I can name it text or whatever I want to, but if I'm gonna pass it to the second bottom thread, it must be the same property. So if I say here text, now here I can name it, for example, reset. Reset. They must be either inside a string or inside a curly brace, but we'll see now. Okay, now I'm passing text here. I will pass here also text. And here let's pass decrement. Voila, that's decrement. So I can, here I define this property. So I can name it whatever I want to, but if you give it a name, you should have the same name for all your button. So here I name it just text. I'm telling my button or my component, okay, whenever I'm gonna use this component, I want you to pass this property. And this property here is text. That's nice, that's fine. But I don't see the changes here. My button still the same. Click me, click me, click me. Where I should get these props? Well, lucky for me, now when I pass the data here, as you can see, whatever props or property I'm gonna pass in here, I can receive them inside my component here. Well, it's just like a parameter, remember? So this, you can imagine this one as a parameter. So I am passing something, and I will receive it inside my function here. And here I will receive it inside an object, and this object called props. So it's just a name, props for property, prop. You can name it whatever you want to, but we name it props. Let's log the props here. Of course, before the return, I can use any valid JavaScript. Props, so I'm gonna just log the prop to see what the hell is props here. If I go here, so as you can see, what is props? Can anyone tell me what is props here? What is props?
State of button text.
Yes,
inside of
what is that?
Object.
Indeed, so it's an object. So any data I am passing when I'm using my component, any data I am passing here, it will be automatically stored inside an object. And this object, we call it props. And that's it. Voila, we receive it directly in our component. Okay, now that's fine. That's not bad. That's not bad. But here I don't want just to pass the text. I want also to pass the color. So I can give it another property. Also the same idea. And here I will, for the increment, I want it to be green. For a reset, I want it to be color. I want it to be yellow or blue. And in here, a decrement, I think. So decrement, I want it to be, here it should be uppercase because all of them are uppercase. So here I'm going to use color again. And here I want it to be red. Voila. And now if I go to my props again, I refresh. So see, now I have text and I have color. So all the property I am passing, I having them. That's nice. So
Samir, sorry, why it's doublet? Why it's double? Go back to your console log and all buttons. So we have 3 buttons, but inside your console log we have
so why I am seeing this 2 times?
yes.
Good question. That's because of this one here, React strict mode. So during the development, what the React strict mode is doing, it's kind of doing the same job twice. Let me show you what I mean. If I remove React strict mode like that, and I go here, see, I have it 1 time. See, only 1 time. But when I'm using strict mode is kind of doing the same job 2 times. That's only during the development. But when I push my code to production, I will not have double. Okay, so that's what strict mode is doing.
Okay.
I answer your question, Daria?
Yeah, but there is no special idea. Just double it.
So it's double it to try to do it twice in case there is any error or something like that. You get the point? So strict mode all the time, it does the same job 2 times just to make sure that everything is fine.
Okay.
If you don't like it, you can remove the strict mode, but for now, just keep it. That's
So
fine.
how it help us? Like if it's twice, so
So it will try to run your component 1 time, and maybe when you try to test your component 1 time, it will work. Maybe the second time it will not work. So that's the reason all the time you try to render your component 2 times just to make sure that your component is being rendered correctly.
Okay.
If you don't like it, you can remove the strict mode, but I've told you that's fine. So now I was able to pass text. Again, you can name this property whatever you want, it's fine. But if you just use text here, you need to use text for all of those. If you name it color, you can name it whatever you want. But if you name it color, you need to name it because it's a property. Okay. So here, all of them should be the same. Of course, the value will be different. Now, I am receiving my guys here. As you can see, I'm receiving my props. So my props here, as you can see, it's object. I don't really want the, or do I want the object or do I want the property text and color? Do I want the object or only text and color?
Only text and color.
Can I extract text and color from this object?
Probably yes.
How?
With dots, maybe.
No, we study something called
Deconstruction.
destructuring. So instead of using this one and I say prop.text here, let's come here, say prop.text, prop.color, and I don't like that, I can destructure it. How? Well, I will just pass this one because it's an object. And now here I can just, I want the color and the text, right? So color and text, voila. Voila. And here, if I go now, I don't have prop anymore. I will have the text and color, voila. So all the time the props, it will be an object, but I don't want really the object. I want the property. So I can just put, as you can see, because it's an object, I want to destructure it. And here I will pass an object with color and text and voila. Of course, now I want to put the text now here, right? But how can I render a variable inside GSX? Remember, that's not an HTML, how I told you, it's GSX. I want to put a variable because text here is a variable, right? How can I put a variable inside a GSX? There's some rule you need to know about React. So how can I render a variable inside it?
With curly braces?
Yes, indeed. So curly brace like that, curly brace. And here I can just, as you can see, I can say text, voila. Any valid JavaScript, I can put it here. That's nice, that's fine. I put the text, which is good. But now how can I implement the color? Well, to implement the color in GSX, I have a property called style. So style, as you can see, by default, it will be a curly brace. Style here, it must be an object. So I mean, I need this curly brace. Why? Because I want to put a variable inside. But also the style in general here, it must be an object. So I need to pass here 2 curly brace. Why? Because the style by default, it must be an object. And also I need this curly brace to render a variable. And now here I can render any valid CSS. So if I say background color, so see, I have background color. Background color. It's just like CSS, but background color, if you know in CSS, background, it should say background dash color. Here, we don't have them this way. We have them camel casing. And now here I can put my color here. Voila. Voila. So as you can see here, now this is a little bit special case. Why? Because style require an object. That's my object. And if I want to render a variable or something, I will need curly brace. And that's the reason why I'm using double curly brace with style. But other than that, I should use only single curly brace. Is the idea clear?
Can we add ID and style it with ID inside button CSS?
Of course, so I can just come here. And not the idea, I can give it a class if I want to. Class is better. So here I can just say class. And here I can name it class. Actually, I cannot use class. I need to use something else. Why I cannot use class? Can anyone tell me why I cannot use class? Why I cannot use class? Why I cannot use class?
Because we are in JSX and not in
Yes,
HTML.
because we are in JavaScript and class is a reserved keyword. So we cannot use the class. That's not what I want to. Let's just name the property name. Just name like that. Name, and here I'm using name. You can name this property whatever you want to, but you cannot name it like a keyword in JavaScript. For example, for, you cannot use for here because this is JavaScript. It's not really HTML here, it's JSX. It's JavaScript. You cannot use for, you cannot use class, you cannot use for in or stuff like that. So you are not allowed to use this stuff. Fine, now I need name my property name, and now here I want to give it a class. So now I go to my button, and instead of this one, what do I name it? Not color, it was name, right?
Yes.
So here I'm gonna remove this one. Now I want to give it a class. How can I give it a class? I told you I cannot give it a class. If I give it a class, we'll evaluate in JavaScript. So here as a class in JSX, you just replace by class name. That's it. And of course, now I want to put like a variable here. So I will use curly brace and name. Voila. So you cannot use the keyword class inside JSX. You need to replace it with class name. And now if I go to my application, refresh it, inspect, as you can see now it has a class green, it has a class blue, it has a class red. Of course, in my element, I see class, as you can see, class, class, class. But in your JSX, you are not allowed to use the keyword class. It must be class name. Why? Because we are inside JavaScript and class is a reserved keyword. Is it okay? And now the text is different, but what I want to do now, I want to make my button a little bit different. So what I can do here, I can just say dot green, because it has a class green, right? Background, I will make it green. Also, I had blue, if I'm not mistaken. Blue. And blue should be background blue. And I had red, right? And voila. If I go back to my button, voila. Now they have different text. They have also different color according to my need. Is the idea clear? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. But as you can see here, I have some little bit squiggly line, as you can see here. What is telling me? You are missing prop validation. So what the hell is prop validation? Can anyone tell me what's prop validation? So prop validation, it's just like I need to define what type of data are those. How can I define the prop validation? Well, I can just use button dot prop type. I think the first one is lowercase, yeah. And here I need just to define this to like that. I will explain it now. Here I need to import prop types. No, prop. What does it called prop types? Yeah, it should be prop types, this one. From prop type, voila. But it does not work. Should work actually, name and text. RAFCE, no, RF. It's prop type lowercase, which is correct.
What types T is uppercase?
Prop types, it's correct. No, nothing wrong here.
No, on the line 8, prop and type should be uppercase. Line 8.
Line 8, no. It's
Oh,
lowercase.
no, it's like.
It's lowercase. So is require string. Yeah, but I define it as a string. What the hell? Why is giving me this way? Name is missing prop type. Yeah, but here I'm saying button dot prop types. This one should be lowercase. Name dot prop types dot string. So it must be string. This one must be string requires. That means I need it. But
Samir, it's prop types or prototype? Because at line 8, it's prototype.
It's wrong. Actually, it's
Yeah.
prop type. Yeah, that's the reason why it's giving me. So it's prop type, but lowercase. Voila. And now it's not giving me anymore. So as you can see, I need to import prop types with P uppercase. And when I'm validating anything, so I will say bottom, I'll take my component dot prop type. This one is lowercase. That's how we use it. And then you will open an object. So you say name, okay, name. Then I'm going to use prop type uppercase. dot here. What type of data here? And of course, name it will be string. And here dot is required or not? Yes, it's required. I need it. And text, same idea. Prop type dot string is required. So you can use string, you can use Boolean, you can use for function. You have a lot of types. And voila. So little by little, you're gonna learn this one. Of course, that's very nice. Why? Because we kind of defining the type of the data in our props, and it make our code less bugs. Is it okay?
No, Samir, can you repeat it once again, please?
Okay. So if I remove this guy here, it will tell me here, Vit is telling me your name is missing prop validation. So I need to validate this property. What do I mean by validation now? What type of name here? What is type of name? Is it string? Is it number? Is it Boolean? Is it object? What it is?
String.
Okay. So what I need to do here, I need to come here. I need to import this one. Import prop types from prop types like that. So this here, I need to import this extension or this library, which is called prop type. So I need to validate this one. Now to validate my prop type, I will put the name of my component dot prop type lowercase. So it will be prop type here. It's not uppercase, it's lowercase. That's how we use it. And here I need to define an object. And then I will come to name, because it's an object. I will use prop type, but with uppercase. Prop type. Now what type here? If I say dot C, I have string, I have object, I have node. Nodes, that means it will be DOM element. It's Boolean, function, any, that means it could be anything. So as you can see, it's element. So I can have a lot of property, as you can see. What is my my name type here? It's string, right? So I will say string. Is it required? That means, do I need it or not? So to create a component here, should I pass the name or not? Do you understand what I'm saying, Agnieszka? Whenever I'm using this component, do I need to pass these two property or I cannot pass them?
No, you need to.
I need them. So dot
Yeah.
is required. Is required minus that means I need them. Otherwise, I will create a button, but I will not have a text or I will not have a class. So we say required. Same here if I go to text. Text, what type of text? Well, prop types, it's string. Also, it's required. I need it. If I don't need it, my bottom here, it will not be correct. Why? So whenever now, if I now use this component, notice, if I go here and I use this component, let's use this component again, but I will not pass anything. So here, I'm not gonna pass the name, I'm not gonna pass the text. If I do so, and now I go to my application here, refresh, see what is telling me. So in my console, it's telling me failed prop type. The prop name is marked as required in button, but its value is undefined. So it's telling me, okay, yeah, I created a button, but I mean, no, you told me when I create these components that when I reuse this component, I need to pass the text and name, but here you are not passing one of them. So I will have just like error here in my console. And now I know, okay, because now when I create a component, maybe one of my colleagues come to use the component and he doesn't know what to pass. So when he try to use it here, we'll get an error here and it will give you some instruction. You get the point? And now
Yeah.
here,
But I have one question.
Mhm.
We can pass any default value for this.
Yes, so you can have default value for that if you want. So here we have button.default props. So I can just say button like that. Dot default props. So as you can see, default props, name and text. So what is default prop? That means if I did not pass anything, this by default it will be black. The name by default of the text it will be button. So you can use default prop.
So we cannot do it like in JavaScript that on line 4, name equals black, for example, and text equals button. No,
No.
it should be like that.
No, but if I have a default props, notice if I have a default props here, and now I want to use my component again, before it give me an error, right? Now it will not give me an error. Why? Because default prop is just like default parameter. Whenever I'm not passing anything by default, the text, it will be button, and the color here, it will be black. Okay? And if I click on it, notice, inspect. See, class is black, and the button here, because those are default property. So yeah, voila. So if I pass
Yeah,
none,
but in the console there is error.
what is it? Button support for default prop will be removed from function component in the future. Measure read. And no, here is not an error. It's just telling you that in the future, JavaScript default parameter instead. It's telling you here, maybe in React in the future release, we will not be able to use default props. So it's better to use that in JavaScript. So what it's telling me here, it's not an error. It's telling me here, it's better not to use default prop. It's better to pass your parameter here. Okay, that's what he's saying. Okay, yeah.
So the prop types, it's a method. It's what is that? It's a React method.
Which one?
The prop types, how we can call it.
The prop type here is just a method. Well, it's method with different type actually. So as you can see here, it's an object with a lot of property. So here, this object, as you can see, we can, when I'm using prop type here, as you can see here, it's object actually. So I'm saying, oh, prop type here is a small one. I'm trying to define the type of the button. But this first one here, it's an object. That's why I can access string. I can access is required or not. So this one here is an object. Here, this one is a property. The lowercase is a property, and the uppercase is an object. Okay.
So we import it from prop types. So it's like from React.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's import, actually, it's already imported for you. So if we go to package.json types, so see, we have something called types React. Okay.
Okay.
Already install it for you. So don't worry about that. We have types. And by the way, if you use this extension and you type HYF-BE, so it will automatically import prop type for you, and also it will define everything for you, which will be better. From now on, I'm going to use this extension, okay?
Okay. So can you explain us the what was the name of this shortcut?
So the extension is called ES7 React Redux React Native. That's a snippet. That's and that's, so for this shortcut, let me go to the extension. Let me click on this one. So this shortcut here, as you can see, if you go, that's not what I want to. So if you go to this library here, as you can see, you have a lot of shortcut. So it helps you to do a lot of shortcut here. Now, what's important for you when you are creating the component here, of course, the shortcut comes with the extension. Huh? What you need to remember, just type RA, and then here, if you type RA, then you can go to RAFCP. And of course, it will show you here in the other side how your component will look like. So you have different shortcut. You can use RAFC, so React Arrow Function Component, or if you want to React Arrow Function Export Component, or if you want to so React Arrow Function Component with props type. That's why here RAFCP.
Okay.
Yeah. That should be fine. So now that's what we call prop. So the prop simply is just some data. I can pass them from the parent. So here's the parent here. So the app is parent component. The button is child component. Why? Because the button exists inside the app. So it's child. So I can pass some data from the parent to the child. And of course, these data here, whatever I'm passing, I will receive them inside my component here, just like parameter. So it will be an object, and this object, I can destructure it directly. Of course, it doesn't matter if text is the beginning or name is the end. Why? Because it's an object. And as you know, object is an ordered list. So if I put name here or text here, it doesn't matter. Because it's simply it's object, it's not an array. And after that, I can just render whatever I want to. And for the prop type, I told you this is a property for the button, my component. And for the prop type here, it's just an object. I do need to define what type of data and is it required or not. And that's how we create our component simply. And that's simply also the props. Clear? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay, I'm explaining prop as how can I style my component? I told you to style your component. you can have a file which will be the name of your component.css, and then you need to import this file just like here. As you can see here, that's my button CSS, and to import it, I just need to say import string./button.css. Now again, if you are importing a component to another component, you don't need to put the extension. But if you are importing any other file like CSS or other file, you need to put the extension. Because React by default assuming is that, where's my button? What the hell is that? Cannot find button. Did you mean button? No, it's button. Anyway, so React by default assuming it will be a component. That's why you don't need an extension JSX. But if it's another file like CSS, you need to put the extension. Style your components. That's okay. Display data in JSX. Now I will show you how we can display. Of course, to display data, I just show you how to display data, but let's get rid of this component now. I don't need it. Let me go to my main component here. I don't need the button here. Of course, the rule, I told you the rule here. I don't need that. So a rule here, I can put any valid JavaScript before the return. After the return, I am not allowed. So let's create an object, const person. It's equal to an object. I will put name and age and email maybe. Blah, blah, blah at Gmail. So that's normal object. Now, what do I want to do? I want to render this data is declared as value never read. So I want to render the name, the age, the email inside my JSX. Well, how can I do that? Well, let me create, for example, a P tag. So I can just type P. And then if I want to insert this guy here, so I want to insert the name. I just can say person.name. Voila. So I need curly brace. That's how I can put my JavaScript inside the JSX. Okay, if I want to create, let's say, another P for the age and another P for the email, for example. And of course, if I go now, well, now I have John Doe, age 25, and that's his email. That's how we render data in our JSX. So you need curly brace, and after that, you can put, by the way, you can put any valid JavaScript here. So for example, if I put 1 + 1 here, if I put 1 + 1, it will render it as 2, huh? And well, as you can see, it rendered it as 2. So any valid JavaScript, it will work. Yeah. Okay, what else? Dynamic styling. Dynamic styling here, that means if I want to add a class, that's dynamic styling. Of course, as I told you here, you see we have a style, and whenever you have a style property, you need double curly brace. Why? Because the style require an object like that, and I need to render something here, I need a curly brace. So that's special case. So if I want to put style here in this one, style, you need to remember it. It's automatically, I will need curly brace, and also the style need to be an object, and now I can limit, for example, color, any property I want to use. Remember, they are the same property as CSS, but they are camel casing. Okay, so here I can just say color. And here I can just, you know, whatever color I want to, blue, red, whatever I want. And here, if I go to my name, and well, as a color is blue, as you can see. That should be simple. Okay, conditional rendering, render list. Oh, do I need to do all of that? No, I will stop here. Dynamic styling. Tomorrow I'm gonna complete conditional rendering, render a list, event, how to handle. I need to explain the event actually. Use state. Oh, well, I can explain it in the project anyway, so it's fine. So let's build the project and learn. What time is it? It's 10:30. Let's take a break 15 minutes, and after that, we will come to build our first project. Our first project, it will be for this week. It will be counter. So if you remember, we build a counter with JavaScript. Now we will build a counter with React. So it's when I click on the plus, it will increment the number by 1. If I click on the minus, it will decrement it. If I click on reset, it will make it 0. So the first project we need to build is counter. I'm gonna build it now. You will understand it, and then you will build your own project. Okay.
Okay.
We will be back in 15 minutes. Okay, now I want to build my project now. How can I do it? Well, I can just say npm create vid at latest. If I click on this one, what's the name of the project? I will name it React Counter. React Counter. Okay, what do I want to use? A React. I want to use JavaScript, and that's everything is fine. Now I want to go inside my project. So that's my project. I'm inside my project. Voila. You need to be inside your project. Now I need to install npm I. And that should be fine. Okay, I need to install Prettier as well. So let me install Prettier npm I -d Prettier. Okay, I need to create prettier rc.json. And the setting, you already have them on Slack, so I'm gonna copy paste them. Copy, paste. I need to go to my package.json, and I need to add a new script here, which will be format. And here prettier, that's prettier dot slash or just dot, it will work. Okay, now let's run npm run format, npm run format just to format my code. And now let's run npm run dev to run my development. Voila. I'm gonna click on command and click on this one, and voila, that's my project. Of course, that's a template. Let me close this one. Let me close this one. I'm gonna take my project here. Of course, don't forget to install React Dev Tools here because it's quite important. I have one app here. Okay, I don't need anything else here for now. I'm gonna close this one. I'm going here, I'm gonna delete asset. And if I go to app.js, the index.css, I don't need anything here. And I'm gonna rename this one to main, just so we have the same name. You don't have to do it if you don't like, it's fine. And here, of course, I need to change the name as well. It must be main. That should be okay. I'm gonna go to my app. I have some code inside it. I'm gonna delete everything. Voila, I'm gonna delete this one as well. I'm gonna just now create a div and say hello. Just for now. I'm gonna delete this code. I don't need it. These two, I'm gonna delete all of them. I'm just importing the CSS now. Of course, this is function declaration. I told you I don't like it. I want arrow function. So const app, it's equal to arrow function is much better. Voila, now my component is fine. I've removed everything. Here's the main. I need to remove all the CSS here as well. So let's remove it. Click, 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 click. Now, what should I do? I need to understand how many components I need. So I'm gonna go to my Xcali draw. I'm gonna delete all of those guys. I'm trying to create a counter, right? So how the counter will be? Well, the counter here, I will have 3 buttons. That's button 1. And I can duplicate this button, of course. Command D, Command D. So I will need 3 buttons like that. Button, button, and button. And of course, here I will need now a number here. So here I will have the number, let's say number 1, something like that. And this one here, it will be, let's say this one, it will be minus. Here, this one, it will be reset. And this one here, it will be increment, for example. Increment here should be decrements. So that's what I want. Actually, it's not really big here. My application is nothing actually. All I need just a number here. I need 3 bottom, and maybe I also need a title here. Just here's title, which is say counter. Let's get rid of this one. That's my title here, let's say, and counter. No, counter like that. Okay. So how many components do I need? I need to understand first how many components do I need. So how many components do I need?
Two.
Two. Okay.
Um,
So the button here, it will be a
yes,
component. See?
3 component.
Here, and this one here, we can make it a component, yes. And this one here, yeah, but actually we don't, do we need component for the title? I mean, I can put it inside app.js. And also this one here, it's small, I can put it inside app.js. So maybe actually I need one component only. Because this one is small here, I can just put it inside my app. And title here is just a title. Yes?
Yes, but we can practice with components. So this I1 we can put to another just to practice
Okay.
or not.
So here, let's create our folder. And the folder name is components, right? I will need the button component. So let me create my button component, button.jsx. I need to create my CSS. Here it will be button.css. I will need another component for, what should we name the component, the other component? Screen maybe? What should we name it?
Or display.
Counter.
Display. Display.jsx. I need to create another CSS, which is called display. Display.css. And I need one for title, right? Title.css, and I need title also .gsx. Well, I have my component, so I have component one button, a display, and title. Let's create the title first. Of course, to create a component, if you have this extension, I will just type RAFCP. Well, it will create it for me. I don't need to import React from React. This one is not necessary in my component. It's only necessary on the main here, only necessary here. Other than that, import React from React, it's not necessary. Okay, so I'm gonna delete it because I don't need it. Props here, I don't need it as well for now. Okay, that's my component, it's fine. What do I need in the title? I need to pass something in the title. So it will be, I need to, how can I say it? I need to pass a text to the title, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
Because here it shouldn't be like that. So I will name it title. And now prop, I told you props is an object, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
I can structure it, and here I can just say title. And of course, to insert this one here, I will just use curly brace, and here I will pass the title. Of course, now when I'm using this component, I need to pass this title here. I need to validate it. What do I want the title to be? Well, I want it to be string. And is it required? Yes, it is required. Let's use this component first. I forgot to import my CSS. Let's import my CSS as well. Import dot slash title dot CSS. Voila. I imported my CSS. I'm defining the prop as a title. Title must be a string. I'm putting the title inside this one here. Maybe I shouldn't put it inside a div. Maybe I should put it inside H1 or H2. So I can define any element I want to. Here, I will put it inside H1. Okay.
Samir, can I ask something? Even if we know that we will not reuse this component in future, it's best practice to use dynamic data like a title instead of static, or it's just for practice in this project.
All the time, if you want to pass data, you should use props. Props is the best way. Okay. Because maybe you're not gonna use it, but maybe your colleague is gonna use it. You never know. So it's just like a function here. This function, well, and now I say hello, and I say John. Well, now I'm using with John, but I don't know, maybe tomorrow I will use it with Jack. You never know.
So
You don't-
never, we don't need to use static data.
Yeah. So now what do I need to do? I need to import this component inside my app, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
So let's try to import it. Now, the way I like it, I like to import the component as a top. So I can just say import. And notice it's really simple. It was title, right? If I type title, click, well, automatically here it will show me. And of course, here I div. That will be my main div here. Now I need to render this component here. Voila. So I will just type title here, and I need to pass the title. Why? Because in my title here, I said I'm gonna pass property called title. So here I need to pass my title. What's the title I want to do to pass? Counter, right? And voila, let's go to our application. And as you can see, I have counter, and that's my component, which is called title. Simple. I need now to style it because I did not style it at all. So what element do I have? I have H1, right? So I can go to my CSS and say H1, text align center, and I want to transform it to uppercase, all of it, center. So here we have transform, text transform, I think text transform, and we can use uppercase. And of course you can play with it, and voila, that's what I want to. That should be fine for now. I don't like the background color, so I'm gonna go to my main.js, my main.css, and I'm gonna select the body. Normally the main.css for general styles. So general styles, I don't want the background like that. I want the background to be something like blackish. And of course, if I define the background, I need to define the color as well. So the color, I want it to be white, smoke, like that. Again, main.css, it's normally for general styles. And voila, now it's a little bit better for me at least. Cool. We created our title. It's not a big problem. Now, what do I need to create? Well, I can create my button, then I can create my display. Or I can create my display if I want to. So let's see here, display. Let's just use as shortcut HYF-BE. I don't need the React from React. Prop type I will need. I don't need like that. I'm gonna destructure it. And here, let's name it a count. So the value I'm gonna pass, I will name it count. And of course, I'm gonna remove it here and I can insert it here as a variable and I can name it count. Here, I need to define what's the type of count. So what will be the type of count?
Number.
Of course, it will be number, yes. So number is required, yes, it is required. Now I need just to import this component inside my app.js. So I'm gonna go here and I can just say import. Notice it's super simple. Import, and it was what you display, right? Display, voila. Now here I'm gonna just render the display here. Voila. Now the count, by default, what do I want the value to be? I want it to be 0. Notice now in the props, if the value is string, you can pass it as a string. But if it's not a string, you need to put curly brace and pass the value. So if it's object or array or a number or Boolean, you cannot make it as a string, only if it's string. But if it's any other data type, I need to put curly brace and put the data type here. Is it okay? Yes, no. I'm gonna
okay.
I'm gonna repeat. In the props, if your prop is string, you can just put it as a string. But if it's anything but string, you cannot just use it this way. You need to put curly brace because it's a variable, it's JavaScript, something. So I'm gonna just put it this way. Now here I can define a variable. I can just name it const count. It's equal to 0. And I'm gonna pass my count like that. Here. So it's just a variable. Because it's a variable, how can I render a variable inside GSX? Well, I need to curly brace and I can put it here. If I go
So
here, voila. Yes.
So we have two options, count like that. So create the variable count equals to 0 or directly 0 in the braces, in the curly braces, without declaring the const count.
Yeah, but actually it will not work this way. Now we will see why it will not work. So I can declare a variable here and I put this variable inside GSX. It will work this way, but let's now, here's the best option here to declare a variable Agnieszka and then use a variable, okay?
Okay.
Fine, now I have a count, I have title, now I need to create my button. Well, the button also, it should be simple. Did I style my display? I did not style it. So I can go to display here and I can select my div and I can just say text align center. Let's see if it's been aligned. No, it's not been aligned. Why? Because yeah, but I want this one here. Let's try to display it. Flex. Justify component center, align item center, and let's see that if that will work. Still, am I not importing my CSS? Of course, I'm not importing my CSS. It will not work, right? Now it will work. If I go here, I don't think I need that, but no, that's not what I want. Just text align center. I think it should do the trick. Oh yeah, as you can see here, but I want it to be a little bit bigger. So let's play a little bit with the font size. I want it to be 2 rem. I'm not sure if 2 rem is really big or not, but let's see. Yeah, it's fine. It's not bad. Actually, maybe I can make it 4 rem, even bigger. Oh, no. I don't want that. I want, let's give it a class because it's affecting everything. I don't want it to affect everything. I just want this guy here. So I want to give it a class. What is the property class?
Name.
Class name. And now here I can give it a class. Let's name it count. And here now I can go to my display and here instead of the div, I can just say dot count. And now it will affect only the div I am choosing. Voila, and here that's what I want to, which is good. That's fine. So I have title and I have my count here, which is nice. Now I need to create my button because still I did not create my button here. Well, that should be simple as well. I can just say RAFCP. It will create button for me. I don't need React. And let me import my CSS so I don't forget. Import button CSS. Props, I don't, what property do I need here? I can structure it directly. I will need text. I will need name for the class. And also I will need a function, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Class here because I want to give it a class. And also I will need a function. The function, I will name it onClick. Or onClick handler, whatever you want to name it. Here's a function, I'm going to name it onClick. That's fine. Let me go validate my props. So text here type, it will be string require. Name, it will be string require. Notice for the function onClick, prop type func. That's the prop type for function. Func is required. All of them are required. Okay, of course, I don't want a div. Or if I want to, I can create a div just for styling, but I don't want a div really. What do I want? Well, I want a button. So let me create my button. Now the button here, text, I need to render it inside. So I will need curly brace. And here I need to render my text. Oh, that should be good. Name here, it will be the name of my class. So I can add a class name. And here class name, I cannot make it as a string. Why? Because it's not a string. It's a variable coming here. So in order to give it, I need to use curly brace like that. And I can add name. Voila. Now, this problem is fixed. I can add class name, I can add a text, but how can I add a function? So how can I add, so this one is handler. How can I add an event to my button? That's the problem. Let's fix the problem later. Let's import my button now. Here, I need to import my button, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
Import. Let's import my button first. So import button. And how many buttons do I need?
3.
3. Let me create a div. It will be a container for my button, and here I can render my button. So here I can just give it a class name just for styling. And the class name here, I can name it, for example, btn container. Btn container should be correct. And here, as you can see, I need to pass a text. Text, which will be increment. The name of the class, I want it to be increment as well. Button text document like that, but I still have, I need a reset. So because I need 3 buttons. Let's name it this way. Here it will be increment. No, here I want it to be decrement on the left. Decrement. And here it will be decrement. That's the text, so this one should be uppercase. That here should be reset. Reset is not correct. Reset. And name here, I want it to be reset as well. That's the name of my class. On increment, that should be fine. Now here, if I go to my application, see, I have three buttons: decrement, reset, and increment, which is okay. That's fine. Of course, it's telling me you are not passing on click. I need to fix this one later, but now let's just give it some styling. I'm gonna select my button container, copy that. And here in button container, it's inside app, so I need to go to inside app here and put this one here, and I can just say display flex. Justify content center, align item center, item center. And here I need to display my button here. See here, my button must be inline block. So here button, all the button inside it, they must be displayed as an inline. So display inline block. That's what I want. Or I can give it some property here, some padding, some stuff like that. So let's give it some padding. But just for styles, a button here. Let's give it some padding. Let's say 10 pixel, 20 pixels. That's fine. Let's give it some margin, some font size, some stuff like that. That should be fine for me now. If I go here, as you can see, my button is being styled a little bit. They're okay. That's a general button, all the button, of course. Now, because I have for each button a specific class, as you can see, I can use these classes to give them different color and stuff like that. So let's go on here. But where is my button? Well, my button is here. As you can see, the classes will be here. So I can go here and I can add the name of the classes. First one, it will be decrement. Decrement is a class. So I will say dot decrement. And here, let's give it a background color red. Background color, something reddish, red. Yeah, for now, that's what I need only. After that, I need increment. I will give it greeny, and then I have reset. And of course, it's a class. So I need to use dot reset, and I want the color to be bluish. For now, that's okay. I don't need anything else. Now, if I go, as you can see, now I have different buttons, as you can see. Decrement, red, reset, and increment. So all of them that's been set, everything is fine for now. Do you understand so far what I'm doing?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, but Samir, like the CSS, like some part of the button you style in app CSS, but some in the button, in the button CSS. So it's like the same thing. It's styled in two files.
No.
No.
Here, this element is normal div. It's just div, like HTML div. Where did I create it? Where this element exist?
Okay, in app.
In app, so I need to style it inside app. But this button here, it must be inside the component itself, as you can see, because I have a button here. Special case, why? Because I created a normal div, I give it a class. As this is div where it exists in app. So I need to give it the styling in app. Okay, Agnieszka?
Yeah, is there other way that it's like, or
No,
this is the best way to do it?
way actually, because I created a div for styling inside the app, so I need to give it styling inside the app.
Okay.
That's fine. Everything is fine now. The only problem now I need to fix. I need to somehow to add event to this button, because as you can see currently, I don't have any event on this button. So how can I add an event? Well, I will go to my button component. To add an event in React, it's super simple. I will just go to the button here, make some space, and I can just say on click. Voila. Voila. And on click here, I will pass this function which I am passing on click. Voila. Simple. So the event, to create an event on React, I will go to the element and have on click. I have a lot of event on click, on double click, all of them like that. They're just like JavaScript, but as you can see, they're camel casing all of them. So all the property, all I need to add an event, I need to go to inside the opening tag for the button, and I just say on click or on double click or on mouse in or on mouse out. So all the events are here. I just need to add this event. And of course, this event here whenever I trigger this event, I click on the button, I want to execute this function here. But the problem is, if I go again, refresh, nothing is happening. Why? Why nothing is happening? Am I passing on click? So when I'm calling when I'm creating my component, am I passing any function?
No.
So now I need to pass my function. What was the property? On click, right? Now I need to create three functions. On click, and also here on click, because I need to pass this property. So here I told you I can use any valid JavaScript, right? So here I can create const decrement. That's my function for decrement. And all I have to do, I just have to put the name of the function in my decrement. Voila. Or I can name it decrement handler because it's a handler, by the way. Now I need to create reset and increment. So I'm creating just three functions here. Now I will need to pass the reset. And here I need to pass increment. So I created three functions, as you can see, and I'm passing now my function here as a props. Now I cannot see if my function is working or not. So as a best way here, I need to log something. So let's log decrement, or let's log reset, and let's log here increment, just to make sure my function is working or not. So let's go here, refresh, decrement, voila, it's working. Reset, it is working. Increment, it is working. And that's how we add event in React. So to add an event in React, whatever the event is, most of the time we use on click, on if dependency form. We have on click or on change. So all of them are camel casing, on double click. So all these property exist here. So if I say on, it will show me all of the on port, on upport, on animation, on blur, on change, on copy, on cut, so on double click or whatever. So every property here or every event you want, it does exist in React. And all you have to do to see all these events, just type on, voila, that's it. And of course, when I add an event, I want to trigger a function. What is a function? Is it type of data, or what is a function? Is function data type or not?
No.
Yes. It's a reference data type. I told you reference data type, object, array, and function. So because I want to render JavaScript here, I need to put curly brace on the name of the function. Simple. And here when I'm calling when I'm creating my components, that's my component, that's my component, that's my component. And here I need to use the same property, and I'm passing three different functions. Voila. But now what do I want to? Do I really need to log increment, or I need to increment this guy? What should I do?
Increment this guy.
Yes, let's use this guy. So I can just say count plus plus. And then let's log it. Here, and let's log it, count. Count is constant. Yeah, it's constant. Let's make it let, otherwise it will not work. Yeah, let's go here, the same idea here, and make it, let's make count 0. Because when I want to reset it, count must be 0, right? Let's log it. Here I will want to increment it. I'm sorry, that's decrement. It should be minus actually. Here is that's increment. It should be plus plus, and I'm logging it. Do you think that will work?
Yes.
Let's see. Actually, it's working. See? Reset is 0, increment, it's working. But this one is not changing. Why? So I'm 100% sure my function is working. See? Minus, it's working. Reset, now it's 0. Increment, it's working. But why is this one is not changing?
Yes, we are only console logging it and not putting to display.
But we are putting it here. That's a count. That's a variable. That's it. So that's my variable here. I'm putting it inside actually.
Now we need to use some DOM or what?
To convince you, let's make 5. Let's make this one 5. And as you can see now, it's 5. Actually, we are putting it inside. So it's working. My code is working, but this one is not changing. Why?
We need to change the state.
Yeah. So in React, that's rule. You cannot just change the variable like that. What do I mean by that? Well, yeah, you are changing the variable. I can see that in the console, but React doesn't know. Because React is gonna re-render this component if this value changes. So I can tell React, so I need to tell React, okay, my component here, if this value change, I want you to re-render the component. And by re-render the component, that means show this value, change this value. So React is never gonna do that. So just by changing like normal JavaScript, that's not gonna work. I need to tell React, okay, whenever this value change, I want you to go to this component display and I want you to change the value, re-render it. You understand my point or not? So you cannot just change the variable like that in React. No. Why? Because simply React doesn't know. React doesn't know this value is being changed or not. I need to tell React, okay, whenever this value change, I want you to re-render this value. And when it re-renders this value, it will become 6, 7, and so on. But how can I tell React that? How can I tell React, I want you to change this value? Do you understand the problem or not? Hello?
Yes, you need to use state.
So again, when you want to re-render component, you change the component. When something change, you cannot just do it this way. React doesn't know about it. You need to tell React, okay, if this value change, I want you to render the component. But how can I tell it? Well, to tell React that, I'm gonna go here, and I need to use something called hooks. So what the hell are hooks? Hooks are just some extra property for React. Is each hook is doing something a little bit different. For me, what's important now is what we call use state. So I can just say import, as that's named import, use state. So as you can see, we have a lot of hooks. Everything starts with use, that's a hook. What we want really is called use state. Use state, this one I want it. And it's from React. So I need to import this guy here. That's what we call the React hook. And now what I need to do here, I'm gonna say const. Let's name it count for now. I need to say equal to use count. So here, use state. So use state, and I need to pass the value, the default value I want. What is the default value I want to be? What do I want?
0.
0. So I want pass 0 like that. Now, if I log the count, notice what will happen. If I log the count, let's log the count. Log the count. So if I log the count, this count here, it will be an array. Let's see. If I log it, refresh. So as you can see, it's an array. It's an array with 2 values. The first value is the default value, and the second value is a function. Okay. So this one here, as you can see, it's an array. The first value is the default value, and the second value, it's a function. But why do I need this function? Well, I need this function if I want to change the value. So whenever I change this value, I need to use this function. Why? Because this function telling React, this value is changed, so I want you to re-render the component. So React is smart, okay? Whenever I'm gonna use state like that, and I pass the default value, this hook, it will return me an array with 2 values. The first value, it will be the default value, and the second value, it will be a function. I need to use this function if I want to change this count. Is it understandable what I'm saying here?
Yes, and Samir, with use state, we can use const instead of let, because before you used let, and you can't change the value of count. But with use state, you can use const, right?
Yes, because in use state here, I am not changing the variable. I need to use the function. The function provided by React. But as before, it was just vanilla JavaScript, and I'm not allowed to change the value of const. Okay? Let's go here. Now, because this one is array, can I destructure it? Can I destructure this one or not?
Yes.
Of course I can. So here, how can I destructure it? Well, I will just create an array like that. Create an array. So this one, it will be count, and the second value, it will be function. And by default in React, we name it, we start with set. So if the value is count, as a function, we name it set count. If it name, set name. That's the convention we use in React. So here, that's the count, the default value, and the function here to change the value, we name it set count. If this one is whatever, this one here, it will be set whatever. So that's the convention we use in React. Now, if I want to change the value of this count, I need to use this function. How is that? Well, it's quite simple. Now I can just remove this one, and I can simply say set count, which is equal to count minus 1. And here, instead of those, I can just use the function count, and I can pass 0. And instead of this one here, I can notice I'm using the function here, huh? Set count, and it will be count plus 1. And now every time I click on the button, it will call the function, this function, and it will provide the new value. And this function, it will tell React, oh, this value is being changed. So it will re-render it. And now if I go to my component, refresh, see? Now it's working. Clear? No, maybe.
Can we make it count minus and count plus plus? Or it should be count minus 1? It's something React
Well,
needs?
to be honest, that's not the best idea. So the best idea or the best approach is to pass a function. So if your state, now I will ask you a simple question now. Now the new value here, if I'm trying to define, when I'm trying to change this value here, does the old value is important or not? So if I want to now, let's say it's 10, this value, let's say it's 10, and now I want to change it to 11. Does the old value 10 important or not?
Yes, it is.
It is important. So that means the new state depends on the old state, right? Not always, but now in my case, I need the old value. I need the old count because it was 10. Now I'll make it 11. Now, when the old state depend on the new state, or on the new state depend on the old state, is the best way to pass a function. And this function here, I can name it previous count. So previous count. This function by default, it will receive the previous count. And here I can just increment it, say previous count minus 1. That's the best way to do it. But that's only when the old state or the new state depend on the old state. Now here it does not depend. Why? Because I'm just passing 0. So I will just pass 0 here. But here, when I'm trying to increment, actually it depends. So I need to use the same. The best way to pass a function. And this function by default, it will receive the old state. And here I will change the new state according to my need. So when I'm passing a function to this function set count, it will receive the old count. That's why you can name it whatever you want to. But normally we name it previous count. It will receive it by default. Then it will change it here minus 1. Then it will change it to this one should be plus 1. That's the best way to do it when the new state depends on the old state. Okay? And voila, as you can see. Like that, React guarantee 100% that it will give you the correct previous count and you will not encounter any problem. But again, that's only if the new state, that's the new state. Depend on the old state. Of course, it depends on it because I'm taking the old one plus 1. Here also depend on it because I'm taking previous count minus 1. But here it does not depend on it, so I don't care. I'm just going to pass 0. Is it quite clear? Whoever asked me the question, it was you, Agnieszka, right?
Yes. So now you even complicated more. But okay, it's clear.
No. It's not complicated. It's just you need to understand something. I'm going to use this function. I need to think of it. Is the new state, that's my new state. Is the new state depend on the old state or not? So if I'm gonna create the new state here, I have 10, I want to make it 11. Do I need the 10 or not? Well, yes, I need.
Yes.
So the best way here, it will be to pass a function to some count. And this function by default, it will receive the previous state, then I would just say previous state plus 1. And voila, my count, as you can see, working perfectly now. But if you don't like this one, you find it difficult for now, you can pass it as just count plus 1. But that's the best approach. And we will be learning this one a lot. So don't worry, you're gonna learn it. And voila, that's simply my project. Is it nice?
How much time do we have?
Sorry?
How much time do we have?
Daria, are you talking to me or?
Yes, yes. How much time do we have?
Oh, you have the whole day?
Okay, so it's until tomorrow.
Yes. But now I'm gonna teach you how to push your code to React. Sorry, to GitHub. Because if you push your code like that, it will not work. Your browser does not understand React. So how can I push my code now? Well, after I test my code, everything is fine. I make sure I don't have any console.log and stuff like that. So you need to make sure you don't have any console.log, your code is clean. I don't have any console.log, everything's perfect. Now, what do I need to do? Well, to push my code to GitHub, I need first to stop my server, so Control C. I need to install a package. This package is called GitHub page, gh/pages. So I need to install this one. I can just say npm I -g GitHub pages. So gh, no, not globally. I want D as a dev dependency. GH. So that's a package. No. So the package I'm gonna share with you, of course, gh minus pages. Click and install the package for me. So this command, I'm gonna send it to you as well on Slack. So we need to install a package. That's nice. Then after we install this package, let's make sure we have it. Well, we have it, GitHub, gh pages, that's it. I need to add 2 scripts, and I already sent those 2 scripts to Slack. So these 2 scripts are, let me just copy them from Slack. Let me just put them here. So these 2 commands here, it's which say pre-deploy. I need to run npm run build, and then to push it to GitHub, I need to run gh page -d test. Of course, you just copy paste it. I've already shared it on Slack with you. That's fine. But now what do I want to do? Well, what I need to do here, let's just try to, before I do anything, I need to create my repo. So let's go to my GitHub account and let's create my repo. Let me delete this one. Now it will ask me for my, let's create a new one anyway. I'm gonna name it on my own GitHub account. I'm gonna name it counter 3. It's available. So I'm gonna just create my repo. Voila. After I created my repo, I'm gonna copy the name of my repo. Voila. And I'm going here to v.config. And here I need to add base like that. And the base here, I need to pass the name of my repo. And the name of my repo is counter 3. Voila. Just like that, / the name of my repo, counter 3. So after I just put the name of my repo here and I add the base, I'm going and now I need to run these 2 commands. So let's try to run these 2 commands. npm run pre-deploy. If I do that, voila, now it will create a new folder for me. It's called dest. And in dest, as you can see, actually, I don't have, so what I have JavaScript, CSS, and HTML, because my browser can understand all these 3 stuff. It cannot understand React. And now after I do this one, now let's try to run the last command and say npm run deploy. Click. Error failed to get remote. So I need to just say get init. Okay, I need to do get init, and then I need to add this one here before I run the last command. Copy this one. I need to pass this one here. And also I need to add this one here. And voila, the second command. And after that, let's run the command again. It was deploy. And voila, published. And now if I go to my application, run it. See, I have just only my index.html, my asset here, I have just CSS. Of course, it has strange name, but I don't need to care about that. That's JS and CSS. So somehow Vite, it will gonna take all my React project and it will convert it to something else totally. And the branch is called GH pages. And now all I have to do, I need to wait a little bit until this one here become a check. Come on. It takes a little bit time because it's now, see, it's trying to deploy it directly. So you don't have to turn off GitHub pages. Automatically, it will turn it for you. And we just need to wait until this one become green. Voila, now it's green. Let's go to setting. Let's go to pages, and you already have the link. Click, and voila. So I'm gonna copy this guy. Click here. Add about we need to add it to the website, and the title here is just counter or React counter, even better. Voila. And now my project is working. If I click on this one, see, it's working on GitHub too.
Yeah, but if I have my original code to GitHub, then
It will not work original. So this code here, GitHub, your browser does not understand this stuff here.
yeah, but if I want to keep my original code on GitHub, then I need to create another one repository.
Yes, every time you make some changes here, you need to do the same step. So you need to say, you need to create a new disk. So you delete this disk and you say npm run pre-deploy and then npm deploy. So it will automatically update your project.
Samir, but we can push this code how it is and use it for deploy just Netlify without any dependencies.
That's possible as well. If you want to use Netlify, why not? Netlify is quite nice and it's easy.
It's much easier because this dependencies really confusing me.
Netlify. Yeah, I think I have an account already. Log with my GitHub. Yeah, I do have an account. Or if you have an account in Netlify, it would be also possible. Why not? I have authentication here. But okay, if you want to go use GitHub pages, that's the way you use it. If you want to use Netlify, it's simple to use Netlify. It's super simple.
Okay.
Netlify. Login. Authentication failed to the following. We already have registered use with the email. I know. Login to connect to your, yeah, but I don't remember the login. Anyway, that's fine. Try now to do GitHub pages or Netlify if you like. It doesn't matter. Do you understand what you need to do?
Yes.
Oh, so now what you need to do really, you need to create a deliverable issue and name it React counter. Of course, you need to create your check-in issue. Already assuming you created. After you create your check-in issue, you can create a deliverable issue and you can name it React-counter. And you can start working on your project. Of course, you have a question, you can ask me. And first, please create your check-in, all of you, and then let's create the deliverable issue. I think it should be simple now. This is the simplest project you can find, which is counter. Little by little, you learn React. It's not that super complex. It's just some rule you need to remember and you need to practice, and that's it. Other than that, it's just JavaScript. Stop